To communicate effectively, it is important to think of communication not as a single act, but as an undertaking that occurs in a series of interconnected levels. So let's explore the levels across which communication occurs. Intrapersonal communication is the communication we have with ourselves, our internal dialogue, self talk, and the way we interpret situations. This internal conversation shapes how we behave in external interactions. If your inner dialogue is, I'm not prepared enough to speak up in this meeting, you may stay silent even when you might have something valuable to contribute. If your internal dialogue is something like, I can contribute something useful here, or I belong here, you're more likely to participate. This internal layer of communication often reflects the values and beliefs that guide us. Effective leaders intentionally pause to reflect before responding to a situation. They ask questions like, what is the fair and respectful way to approach this? Or how can I handle this situation with understanding? When you ground your communication in reflection and clear values, such as humility, generosity, or respect, your outward communication becomes more thoughtful and constructive. From there, communication moves outward into interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is the interaction between individuals. Successful interpersonal communication depends heavily on listening. Communication is not just about sending a message, it is about making sure meaning is shared. For example, a manager might address a performance issue either by immediately criticizing the employee's behavior or by first asking the employee to describe what happened and listening carefully before responding. The second approach is likely to lead to greater understanding and more productive solutions. Beyond individual conversations, communication is also shaped by what we might call rituals of communication or rituals of conversation. Think about how meetings often begin with, brief greetings or small talk before moving into the main agenda. These moments might seem insignificant, but they serve an important purpose. They establish connection and signal that participants are part of the same group. However, conversational rituals vary across workplaces and cultures. In some settings, jumping straight to business might be seen as efficient. In others, skipping those initial moments of connection might feel abrupt or even disrespectful. Paying attention to these subtle patterns helps communicators build stronger relationships and avoid misunderstandings. Whenever people interact, conflict is inevitable though. But conflict itself is not necessarily a problem. In fact, it can lead to better ideas and stronger teams when handled constructively. The key lies in how communication is used during moments of disagreement. Conflicts often escalate when people assume motives or assign blame. For example, telling someone, you never meet deadlines, puts the other person on the defensive. A more productive approach focuses on understanding the situation. I noticed the deadline wasn't met. Can you help me understand what happened? This shift from accusation to curiosity opens the door to collaboration rather than confrontation. Communication becomes even more complex when people interact across cultural differences because culture shapes how people interpret politeness, authority, disagreement, and even silence. In some cultures, direct communication is valued and people are encouraged to challenge ideas openly. In others, maintaining harmony may be more important, and disagreement might be expressed more subtly or indirectly. Silence, for example, might signal disengagement in one context, but respect and careful consideration in another. Recognizing these differences is essential in today's workplaces where teams often include individuals from diverse cultural and professional backgrounds. Effective communicators remain open, curious, and willing to adapt their communication styles to ensure mutual understanding. Finally, these communication levels come together in team dynamics. Teams are made up of individuals who bring different communication habits, experiences, and expectations. Without clear communication norms, misunderstandings can easily arise. Successful teams establish shared communication expectations. For example, how meetings are run, how feedback is given, or how disagreements are handled. As I conclude, I want to invite you to step back and look at the communication levels we have explored. You will see a clear progression. Communication begins within the individual. Then it moves outward into relationships between people. It then becomes structured through social rituals. It is tested during conflicts, and it is shaped by culture, and ultimately, it is expressed through team collaboration. Understanding communication is in this layered way helps us become more intentional communicators. We strive to make our communication not just more effective, but more humane. Thank you.